Hey guys, and welcome to this video tutorial. We're going to be using Adobe Photoshop and working with the drawing, painting, and shape tools today. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and create a new document. I can go up here, File, New. You can also hit Control N on your keyboard, the keyboard shortcut. Just setting up the document here. I'll name this Draw Paint Practice. Dimensions, let's go 800 by 800. Let's switch this to pixels first. Okay, everything else is good. 72 resolution, RGB white. Fantastic. First thing we're going to take a look at is using the brush tool. Some of the different options, brush tips, etc. that we can work with. Before I do that, I want to go ahead and create a new layer. You can do that down here, the Create a New Layer icon, or go to Layer, New Layer. Okay, I'm going to name this a brush tool. It's good practice to name your layers. Make sure the brush tool is your active layer there. Alright, in my toolbox on my left hand side, I'm going to go ahead and find the brush tool. As you can see, it's right here. The keyboard shortcut for the brush tool is the letter B. Okay, for future reference. Let's go ahead and change a color here. Alright, I'll just start with that. And up here, you can find all sorts of different options for your brush tool. I'm going to go ahead and click here the size of my brush. Okay, you can edit that right here, make a larger brush, smaller brush, etc. Also with this option, you can go ahead and drag and expand. Okay, so you can preview all the different types of brushes that are available. Photoshop is preloaded with quite a bit of brush tips for you to use. You can find additional brush tips out there on the internet for download. For now, obviously, this is just what's loaded in Photoshop by default. So what I'm going to do is click this tiny icon up here and get another flyout menu. You can see that there are several different types of brushes we'll get into here in just a minute. But I want to talk about the different views you have here. My preference is the stroke thumbnail. Okay, you can see a good preview of your brushes that way. There's also text only, no preview, small thumbnail, large list. Pretty self-explanatory there. I'm going to stick with the stroke thumbnail for now. Okay, so basically when you're ready, you can just grab your brush. Again, you can adjust the size here. You can also hit the left and right brackets. The left bracket will shrink the size of your brush. The right bracket will increase the size of your brush there. Okay, so that's an example of one. You can change colors at any point. Okay, if I choose this blue, I'm going to load a different set of brushes. The special effects brushes are pretty cool, actually. Pretty interesting effects there. Okay, as you can see, these are actually ducks. All right. So like I said, you can just kind of go in there. I suggest tinkering around a little bit, figuring out which brushes you like, which ones you think will be the most useful as you use Adobe Photoshop. And don't forget to load some of the other types of brushes as well to preview how those are going to look for you, etc. Okay, because there are a bunch of different categories there that you can load and use in your projects and such there. Okay, so that's an example of the brush tool. Okay, so we'll move along here and take a look at some custom shapes. Now, before I do that, I want to go ahead and create yet another new layer. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and rename this one Shape Tool. Okay, as you can see, our brush tool is on a separate layer. I can hide that, show it again. We'll leave it for now, not a big deal. Shape Tool. If we look on our toolbox here, just above the hand tool, you'll see we've got all sorts of shapes we can choose from. The keyboard shortcut is U. I want to go ahead and grab the Custom Shape tool. Alright, now for the color, we're not going to use our foreground picker down here. We're actually going to go up here to change the color for this shape. And you want to do it beforehand to save yourself some potential problems or snags that you might run into there. Alright, there's other options here as well, but what we want to take a look at now are the different types of shapes. By clicking this drop down menu, you can also expand these as shown. There's also a flyout menu here as well. If I select all, okay, it's going to load all the pre-installed brushes into Photoshop here. Okay, for example, if I just grab one of these, all right, all I'm going to do is left click and just kind of drag to draw out my shape, and there you go. Cool thing about these shapes, you can also transform these. I'll hit Control T. I can rotate it. Okay, I can resize it. Whatever needs to be done, I can do that there with these shapes. I can also add effects to these shapes. You hit the FX button, blending options, or double click on the layer. And let's just take a look here. You can add a stroke. Okay, your different stroke options there. Obviously, anything you want. A gradient overlay, if I wanted to do that, I could go in there. And remember, there's all sorts of different ways to edit your gradients. You can load different ones. You can go in manually and change the colors of these gradients as well. Okay, there you go. Remember, it is also good practice to name your layers. So I'm going to go in there and name this one Text Bubble. Alright, if I wanted to create a new shape, new layer, there we go. So anytime you create a new shape, you do want to create a new layer. Go in here, look at, there's tons of shapes in here, all sorts of different sizes. They've got footprints, everything else there. Okay, I'll do one more here. We'll use this umbrella. Okay, again, just click and kind of draw your shape however you want it there. The stacking order does come into play, so be aware of that as well. Let's just throw a little drop shadow on this one. Maybe do a pattern overlay here as well. Okay, there we go. You can edit that, transform it, slide it around, rotate it, again, whatever you need to. So that's just a basic introduction to using the brush tool, shape tools, etc. there. Like I said, the best way to get a firm grasp on how this stuff works is to just go in there and tinker with it. Play with the different options. Use 10 different shapes. Use 15 different brushes to find out what works for you. Alright, that's it. We'll see you guys next tutorial.